All right, this is jpeg2RAW, show number 43, June 12th. And you know what, guys? This is I'm hearing a little bit of feedback again. This is we're almost at 1 year mark of the show. I just realized that tonight.
No
So
way.
we're almost at the 1 year mark tonight.
That is really
Yeah.
cool.
June 15th of 2011 was the first beta show, which is
Wow.
me just testing to see if I knew how to actually record. June 27th is like official show number 1. So we're
I
coming
was
up
trying
on
to think when I first came on, and it was like it had to be around August some point.
Yeah, Tim, you were show number 4, which was in August. Yeah, back then I wasn't quite as fast with the getting the shows out, so I can't be overly confident with the date I'm seeing here. But according to this, August 12th, somewhere in that range.
Uh-huh. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, coming up on a 1 year mark.
Well, we need something big to celebrate our 1 year mark. And you just need to go ahead and pick a date and say that was our date.
Yeah, I'll just make up. And so welcome back, Kathleen. Kathleen, we
you're
missed you
welcome.
last.
I missed you guys too. I did. I missed everybody.
Nice lower thirds you got there.
You like
Yeah.
that?
Apparently, the lower thirds in Google does not work in Safari. So, and Kathleen's on a Mac using Safari. It
Yeah.
doesn't work. At least that's our theory. We don't know that for sure. That's a
It's
theory right now.
unfortunate.
Hopefully, that will be fixed. By the guy who makes it. He's been pretty quick at doing it. So hopefully that'll be fixed. Although, where's my lower thirds?
Yeah,
I
yours
think
is
when
gone.
you go into the Google effects and you come back, I still didn't save it correctly for me.
Oh yeah, mine's there.
So yours was saved and it worked.
Yep.
I had to retype mine.
Oh, I need to get rid of that too. And so, Kathleen, last week we missed you. We had Sylvan on last week.
Oh, I
And,
know. I'm so bummed. Can I tell you what happened, please?
and can I say one thing?
Yes.
Last week, after I mispronounced his name for the whole show, at least the first or last name,
No.
I've been getting it right every single time since then. Sylvan Gentili.
Oh,
So
no.
if you listen to this show, Sylvan, it's a little late, but I'm getting it right every time now.
It's a little late, to
So
be
what-
fair.
So what happened? What happened last week, Kathleen?
Um, it's a really good reason why I wasn't here.
Relapse.
I forgot it was Tuesday. All day long, I thought it was still Monday. And so I'm sitting in bed, still in my pajamas, because a few minutes ago I let you know that this is really the only thing I have to get dressed for all week unless I have a photo shoot. And then even if I have a photo shoot, I just, wear my stretchy pants because I have to be flexible to be able to move kids and all that kind of stuff. And so I was sitting in bed watching TV and I get the text from Mike, "Where are you?" And it would have taken me at least 30 or 45 minutes to get dressed.
Now, my tone wasn't quite that bad.
It was awful. It was actually worse. I know what your tone was over text. Trust me, I know.
You can show me yours. I'll show you mine. No, mine. I said something like, "Hey, are you coming tonight?"
Wait, I will go back and read it right
Yes.
now. I've got it right now.
Well, yes, you do that.
You might need to go ahead and get your bleeper ready. That's how bad it is.
Oh boy.
Okay, you're gonna have to actually show us because I'm not gonna believe you.
Where the bleep are you? You're
Where
never
the
allowed
bleep
to
are
come on the show again. I'm finding someone else. Samantha Bucamp, can you please be our new host? That's what it says.
Yeah.
The Samantha's out there now saying, what?
No, so I did not send that text. I just said, "Where are you?" and then said, which I think you said something like, oh my gosh, is it Tuesday night?" And
I totally thought it was Monday.
I didn't know from that response, does that mean she's not coming or she is coming? What does that mean? Whatever your response was, I wasn't quite sure what that meant. So we just kept going with the show, and I texted you again, and that's when you said, "No, I'm not coming."
Right, because we had talked about it. I said, "Oh, she's probably getting on very soon," and then just nothing,
Geez,
nothing.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's awful.
Right, because I think Mike had said, "Oh, she forgot it was Tuesday," so he's like, "All right, she'll be right on," thinking you were somewhere else in the house, and you're going to the computer now. Then nothing, nothing.
Well, normally I can track my week because my husband is gone Tuesday and Thursday nights consistently. But last week he worked a bunch of night shifts. And so all of my days kind of blended together because he was gone every night. And so
Well, you know, one of the things we want to talk to you about last week, Kathleen, because we wanted you there for Sylvan. He's a great
I'm
guest.
so bummed that I missed him. When I saw his work for the first time, I contacted him and told him how stellar he is, and I'm bummed that I missed him.
I know Scott Green wanted to talk to him too, so he missed it too. So we're sorry both of you guys missed it. Sylvan actually wanted to talk. He sent me a couple of messages after the show and said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in broadcasting like a live shoot of his?" Something like that.
How awesome would that be?
Hopefully we can do some stuff together in the future, and we just need to, we'll talk to him and maybe work something out. I'd love to do a live shoot with somebody. The problem always will be is how do we broadcast it? One, remotely, and two, are they going to be shooting at 9:30, 8:30 at night,
Right.
And if we do it during the middle of the day, it may have to be something we record and then show later. I don't know. We'll have to work that out.
Yeah.
But the other thing we wanted to talk to you about was something new you got last week or last 2 weeks, something like that.
Yes, I'm going to get it.
I'm interested in that same product. I've reached out to the company, and hopefully I'm going to be able to get them on the show at some point. They're interested. They've responded and are interested in coming on, but we're still trying to work out a date. But you have it. You've been using it.
I do. It is the ExpoDisc.
And so you got the largest version, right? Because it comes in multiple versions.
Right. I believe I got the largest.
Sizes.
I got the 77 millimeter, which I believe is the largest. It was the largest one that I could see. And so my whole experience with white balance it started this year where I kind of promised myself that I was going to start nailing it so I didn't have to mess with it in post, because I will sit there for forever and look at an image like from 5 different directions with my head tilted, and then sit back and then look forward and then change it, and I'm way too not confident with it. I'm always second guessing on whether I have it correct or whether it's too pink or too green or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off with the gray card, which for me with newborns felt cumbersome. It was like too much for me to try and hold it out and try and take a picture, and then laying it on top of the baby felt awkward to me. I didn't want to do that. And then even when I would try to set a custom white balance in my camera using the gray card, and I'm sure I was doing something wrong, but I just never could get it right. Okay.
Right.
So then I started doing the whole thing where I would just take a picture of it in my shot, and then in Lightroom just post-process and get them all, copy and paste the settings for all of them. But then I would still sit there and second guess it. It was funny because I saw it change before my eyes. I would say, oh, dang, now did I like it better beforehand? It was like too much of a thing for me. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I kept hearing about the ExpoDisc, and I didn't get it right away because they were, I thought, a little bit pricey. Especially because I was thinking that you had to purchase one for every single lens size you have, because they're technically made to snap on to the face of your lens. So let's say that, I have a 50 millimeter and then I have a 24 to 70. So that would require 2 ExpoDiscs if I'm going to snap it onto the front of my lens. But I kept hearing people who had them saying that they were just loving the results and how easy it was. And then I read that you do not have to buy one for every lens you have. If you just get the largest size, then instead of snapping it onto the front of your lens, you can just hold it onto the front of your lens to take your white balance. And so that's what I did. And I think the 77 millimeter, I don't remember the exact amount, but it was probably close to about $100 by the time I had it shipped and all that jazz. But I've actually only used it on one session, and it was a session with twin 4-month-olds, 2 older children who were probably 6 and 9, and then the mom and the dad. So there is a lot of components in a session with that many different kids, that many different age differences and all that kind of stuff. And it was so stinking easy. I would just get my people set up how I want them, step back, tell them to interact naturally and get my exposure correct in my camera, and then basically walk up right in front of them, turn around, hold it in front of my lens, snap a shot, and then as I'm walking back to where I want to shoot from, I'm quickly going to custom white balance, set, ready to go, turn around, shoot, and it was spot on every single time.
Huh. So you pointed at the person?
Location where you're going to be?
So, okay, so if this is my subject, and we'll use Mike's Hard Lemonade for me because that's appropriate, okay? So this is me, and I'm shooting from here towards my subject. What I would do is I would set my subject up, walk back, take a couple shots to get my exposure correct, okay? Go back to my subject and turn around and face where I was just standing. So now I'm shooting towards where I was standing, so that way I'm taking into account all the light that's falling on my subject who is now standing directly behind me.
Okay, okay.
So I take a shot with my ExpoDisc on, and then as I'm walking back to where I'm going to take the pictures, I'm setting my custom white balance to my camera. I set up, turn around, and start shooting, and it was spot on every single time.
So now are you at wide angle then at that point to gather the most light in?
No, because I was using my prime for most of my shots. So it's a 50 millimeter. I don't remember if I used my 24-70 on that session or not. I think I did. And I didn't really pay attention to what millimeter I was at if I was on my zoom. I just was whatever I was at. I would just take a picture.
But the key there was that you weren't pointing at the subject. You're pointing at the light that was hitting the subject.
Right. I stood right in front of my subject. So now whatever light was going to fall on my subject was now falling on me and my camera and my ExpoDisc.
So is that how they tell you to set it up for the Expo?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't know. That's weird.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
That's weird. I wouldn't have expected that way, but it makes perfect sense in reality.
They say to point it at your light source. Okay, and in the scenario where I was shooting, I bet you I could pull up one of the images and do a screen share so you can see it.
Yeah.
I was shooting, where we moved, we have a space that, we have a pathway that leads to a little lake. It's right beside my house. And the funny thing is that when we bought the house, we put an offer on it. We had only seen it in the night. So we literally were walking around the inside of this house with our flashlights on our phone to see it. Decided to put an offer on it, and the next day came back to see it in the sunlight. And we did not know that it is situated on a lake, and there's a pathway that I shoot at all the time. And so now I have all my clients come here for a lot of photo shoots. It's wonderful. Okay, nice. Hold on. I'm looking up who it is. What was their last name? Here we go.
Now, you got the neutral white balance one, right? Not
I
the
did.
portrait.
I didn't. It's funny because I didn't really understand the difference. I don't think. I don't even think that I saw that there was a difference. I just knew I wanted to buy one. And so I went and bought one. And then someone asked me, did you get the neutral density or the portrait? And I was like, I didn't even know that there was an option. Okay, I'm going to do a screen share. Okay, so here's the image. So as you can see, I'm kind of like in open shade, basically, is where I am. So shooting it at my light source, where would that be? I couldn't shoot up through the trees that was covering us. And so my best case scenario was just to turn around and just shoot straight from where I was standing. And I had read that on some forum or whatever, that they just turn around and point their camera right back to where they would be standing when they're going to be shooting their subjects. And that's how I did it. Yeah,
the white balance looks good.
It was super easy for me, and I'm really happy with the results. And with Asian skin, it's sometimes like when you're doing it in post, it's really hard if you don't remember exactly their skin tone. It's the same thing with any, like African American and Asian, and even Caucasian actually, because some of us have more yellow skin tones and some of us have more pink skin tones, and so it's hard to get it exactly right. And with Asian, there's a lot of yellow in their skin tone, but if you're not careful with it, it can make them look ill. So I just loved it, and I loved that my first session was with these beautiful babies because for me, with them being Asian, it helped me to know that it was I wasn't going to have to struggle with it afterwards. I wasn't going to have to struggle in post afterwards.
And it's good because now you don't have to worry about what was the color of the skin of the people I was photographing.
Exactly. And especially, let's say, okay, so I don't shoot this way, but let's say that you're packing in, 8 sessions in a week. How are you going to remember all of your clients on the top of your head? And how
you're right.
You're not. You're not. And I know a lot of photographers who do 24 sessions. They try and fit that many in a month. And I'm like, woo! So, I mean, I don't know how you'd remember. But even with me just doing 4, this makes my life so much easier. So I pulled these in to Lightroom, and I didn't have to touch anything because I liked my exposure the way that it was, and I didn't have to touch my white balance. And so the only thing I had to do was run my batch processing over it in Photoshop, and I was done.
Now, did you have to readjust the white balance later on based on changing in the light, or did you do it over maybe only a half-hour time frame so that the lighting didn't change?
If I was shooting in the same spot, I just kind of kept that in my mind to watch the light and see what it was doing. If I noticed there being a shift, I would redo a thing, but I don't think I had to. I think there was one time, originally in this shot, I was just shooting the twins. And these little girls were not even scheduled to be in the photo shoot. It was just supposed to be of the twins. But they were so giddy about their new brothers, and the little girl kept saying, "Can I please get a picture with my brother?" And her mom kept saying, "No, honey, I don't have you dressed. I don't have you dressed," because they were just in play clothes and like t-shirts. And I said, if we want a picture of all of your kids, especially because they're eager and want to do it, let's do it. I mean, kids usually aren't jumping up and down saying, "Take a picture of me,"
Right.
So I just told the older one to take her t-shirt off because she had a tank top on underneath. And the younger one, we just took her shirt off all together, and I wrapped a big blanket around all of them so you couldn't see anything, and then it's just skin on skin, and it worked out beautifully.
Yeah, it's great. Great white balance. Now, a couple of questions out in chat, and I have a couple of questions for it too.
Okay. Do I need to do screen share again?
No.
Okay.
I think we're fine. Let me get off the focus of you. So, Faye Joyce wants to know, if you're not in open shade, would you just shoot at the sky? Or
I've seen it done both ways. I've seen a YouTube video where someone shot towards like the sun, because that was obviously their light source.
Be careful pointing your camera to the sun.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Burn out the sensor.
Stop it.
You might, depending on how long the shutter's open, you could damage the sensor, but you could also damage your eye.
Even if you've got the ExpoDisc in front of it?
Yeah, I don't know how, they often
because
say
when you have the ExpoDisc in front of it, you don't see anything.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, do it at your own risk. I don't know.
Right. Well, the YouTube video I saw, the people had the ExpoDisc and they were pointing it towards the sun. I don't know if they were like right at the sun, but they were pointing it up in the sky, like towards the sun. And then I also read
maybe a little bit off the side to the sun. That'd probably be good.
I also saw people just pointing it back to where they would be standing to shoot the picture.
Okay.
Because then, the light's if you're standing in front of your subject, then you're going to get the light that's going to fall on your subject.
Right.
So
what does that thing look like? It looks like it's just...
It looks like, okay, so the front looks like a beehive.
Yeah.
It's got the prisms. That's what faces the sun or your light source. And the back is just plain milky glass.
Cool. So that's the part that goes up the camera.
This is the part that goes up to your lens, yeah.
Yeah.
It's super cool. I really love it. And when I went and assisted the other photographer this week with her twin session, she was using a gray card, and I showed it to her, and she says, "Oh my goodness, you are spending my money," is what she said. Because it makes it super easy.
And you did a smart thing. You got the biggest size, which means you don't screw it on the front of your lens. You just place it in front of it, and you can do it with any of your lenses because you got the bigger size.
Yes.
Right. As long as your lenses aren't bigger than that, it just hold it right in front of it.
Right. Well, and I mean, they don't, as far as I know, they do not make anything bigger than a 77 millimeter. So I'm going to guess that they understand that that's the biggest size lens that's out there. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong.
Just looking at the website, they have an 82.
Oh, well, then I did not get the biggest size.
Well, I don't have it right now, but often you see a huge lens right back there in that tripod. And that is a 300 millimeter f2.8.
So what's your thread size on it?
105.
Okay, so do they have one that's 105? Do they have an ExpoDisc that's 105, do you see?
No, but they have a 4 by 5.65 square video format filter, it says.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
could probably rig
Yeah.
that to fit.
What I would do is look at your lens selection and
I probably should have been more specific, but all I was thinking is, and I did it on Amazon, so I guess I got the largest one that I could find on
It
Amazon.
could have been the largest on Amazon, yeah.
Yeah, it could have been the largest on Amazon. I don't know.
and did you go to the jpeg2RAW website?
Of course I did.
Awesome. Use our link to buy something from there.
Yes.
But you know,
I was actually on Amazon, did my search, found what I wanted, logged off, came back to Knob Studios, did the link, went back on, bought
very
it.
good. That's a very good host there, Kathleen.
Yes, you're welcome. See, rockin' host, rockin' host.
That's your lower thirds.
Yes.
That's how Apple does lower thirds. But you know, I guess look at your lens selection. Even at your price, what was it, $70, $80?
I want to say mine was probably closer to 100 by the time I got it shipped, but I'm sure you can, I don't know. I was like, I'm just doing it. So I did not look around. I didn't really do a lot of searching. I just knew I wanted it and I needed to do it fast and I wanted it done with. I didn't want to still be searching, you know, 3 weeks from now.
Right.
Because when you're a mom of 2 kids and you start a search and you're trying to get the best price for something, you probably will still be looking for that thing tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of things in photography are not cheap, but that is you know, you take care of that thing, it should last a long time. You can use it on multiple lenses. When you're out with that friend shooting, you can just hand it to them. They can use it. You can share it amongst yourselves.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. And if you shoot with somebody a lot, you might be able to go in on the price with it.
Yeah.
But it's still I'm gonna get one.
You need to. And you know what? If you want to end up meeting someday, I could probably let you play with mine for a little bit.
Yeah. And see the
I'll
joke
bring it
there.
to lunch.
The joke there, Kath, guys listening, and Tim, is we live in the same general area. We've almost met at least once.
Mm-hmm.
But Kathleen has this rule that she wants us to never actually meet in person.
I think it's much cooler if we don't, just because
like
then we can say, yes, we've never really met.
Yes. Well, that's interesting. We'll be watching for you to post stuff and continue to post your comments. I'm going to probably go ahead and get one.
Yeah, do it.
It looks so good. The other thing...
Well, I do have one question before you jump off, Mike. Do you see this as beneficial for other than portrait photography, though?
I mean, I don't shoot landscape, so I don't... I mean, it's white. You still want to get your white balance right. So for landscape, if you're doing landscape, I guess you would just point it up in the general direction of the sun because then it would get the temperature of the sun.
Right, because you're not going to go running down to the far end of where you're taking a picture. Let me take a picture.
Stand in front of Niagara Falls to make sure that you have the correct white balance.
Right, exactly.
Sometimes a landscape is not quite that simple because you may want some of that color cast to come through. Mm-hmm. So, like, for instance, and wasn't a landscape. I took my son out to shoot some late evening shots, sunset shots, and had that golden glow on them. I put the gray card in front of them. I set my white balance off of it. Now it's like there's no golden glow at all. It like took it all away. Like, what the heck, So there's times you want some of that to come through, but when you're trying to get accurate skin tones and that kind of stuff, or for me, like if I'm shooting inside of a gym at a swim meet. Mm-hmm. And with the crazy lights that they have everywhere, that would be a great thing for me to put that thing there. Because right now what I'm doing is taking a gray card, slapping it on the ground, hoping a kid doesn't walk over it with his wet feet, bringing it up and taking my white balance setting.
Yeah.
And, getting that way. This would be so much easier. For me, like I hear a lot of photographers say that they are comfortable throwing it in auto or doing it in Calvin, and if there's an issue, fixing it in post. That is great if it's working for you. If it's not broke, don't fix it. For me, whenever I tried to fix something in post, even with my raw files, if I tried to fix something in post, it just felt muddled to me. It never, with me messing with it, maybe it's a confidence issue. Maybe I just did not feel confident messing with white balance in post, but it just always felt muddled. And I always looked back at my images saying, oh, I hope I got that right balance right. And I really wouldn't know if I really loved it until I would get like a print in the mail. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right.
And so this has given me confidence. I've got it right. I don't have to mess with it. It's right.
Now you mentioned Kelvin. That's actually how I shoot. I always shoot. Generally, I start off at 5600 Kelvin, and then I'll watch the back of my monitor, and you know, depending on the time of day, you may have to adjust a little bit from that. But I generally start at 5600.
Yeah.
And because I shoot with RAW, I feel like I can adjust it. But if you know, I still want to get it as close as I can in camera.
You just don't want to have to mess with it if you don't have to.
Right.
And like I said, a lot of people shoot it that way, Mike, and there's nothing wrong with it. It was maybe a confidence issue for me, but I would always walk away feeling like my images looked muddled, or that maybe I'd messed them up more than they were when I took it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you know, the thing about photography is there's not one solution.
No, there's not.
And it's, you know, what works for you, because some people like to shoot in JPEG, some people like to use Photoshop versus Lightroom. You know, there's no one solution. Whatever works for you.
It's all preference.
You know, and speaking of that, we got Scott Green, and I'm gonna, now that it's turned out bad, I'm gonna say you got Scott Green.
Great.
And Scott has been a guest on the show and actually helped co-host, I think, at least one show. Scott got a Huey Pro or a Spider. He got a Spider to calibrate his monitors, because everybody's been telling him he needs to calibrate his monitors. And now he is absolutely hating life. His prints aren't coming out right. His monitor doesn't look right.
Oh, no.
He's undone the what Spider did, but he cannot get back to what it was originally. This is how bad it is. These are fairly new, I think 27-inch Mac screens, that he hates the colors of them so much he can't get them back to the normal. He's going to sell both. He's trying to sell both of those monitors and buy 2 new ones because he got the color calibration wrong.
I would just probably do some research on how Mac calibrates their screens out of shop, and then just use those settings.
It sounds like what he's going through is, so let's say that you were able to get it back to exactly the way he remembered it being. It was.
Well, that's your memory. That's the thing.
Right.
It's going to play tricks on you, and your emotions are involved too, because when you've had so much sweat, blood, and tears over your photography work, then your emotions are involved too. For me, it sounds like it's one of those things that he just needs to shut the computer down and walk away for a week if he can afford to, and then come back and look at it with fresh eyes. Because it's kind of like me sitting there and trying to look over, you know, my white balance 1,000 times and never feeling like it's right. But that's just how I feel.
And my point with that was, it's, you know, hey, maybe that worked for him to not have a calibrated monitor. If his prints were coming out right, they look good, and they look like what he was seeing on.
Is he printing stuff, he said?
I thought he was. I thought he said he was printing stuff. But if that was working for you, maybe you don't want to mess with that.
Right, I wound up calibrating my monitor because my prints that I was getting off were looking horrible. They look bright on the screen. When they came off the printer, they were dark and muddied. And after I calibrated it and I got the Huey Pro, I have not had a bad print. Oh,
Whoa,
we lost Kathleen.
Anybody who's out there and you're waiting for us to invite the group into the Hangout, we got a few things we want to go over. We'll do that once we get to that point. So still hang out. We want to invite you guys a little bit later. Now we need to hopefully bring Kathleen back eventually. But my point with that was, one thing may not work for everybody. You know, Tim, I guess that's her Mac. It just doesn't work right.
There we go again. Yeah, we know.
Now she's not here to defend herself, I'll say that. But, you know, in Scott's case, that wasn't working for him. It was working for him. He did something that messed it up. You don't have to go to make changes just because somebody else is. You do it your way. And it goes with the white balance. You know, I like to set it on the Kelvin and go from there. But in a challenging situation, like in a school gym, I do like to set my white balance. Outdoors, I usually go with a Kelvin temperature. So I'm going to get the ExpoDisc. Got to see what their biggest size is and keep the price down. I'd love to get one that would fit on.
The 82 looks like it's selling for about 105.
Okay, and that would look like the biggest size. I got distracted because Kathleen did write something there. Dang Mac.
The color is off.
Because I'd love to be able to get it on my biggest lens, which is the 105. Okay, so the next thing I want to discuss.
You have a 105 millimeter lens opening?
Yeah, the 300 2.8. I have a 120 to 300 2.8 Sigma lens. It's a nice lens. Yeah, I don't generally buy third-party lenses, but that's a nice one, and it's a 105.
Wow.
Filter.
Now, and the filters go on the front of that?
Yes.
Wow.
Filters go on the front. I have a what do you call it? A UV filter on the front of it.
Yeah, their website is showing it only goes up to 82 millimeter.
Well, I'll probably get that one, and
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Oh, sorry, we just ended the show. Thanks.
Of course
So,
you did.
I think that we pretty much covered the ExpoDisc. I am actually talking with them and trying to get them to come on the show
That'd be
because
awesome.
they have some other products, and up to now we've only really had photographers on the show, and
Yeah.
that will continue to be the main focus. But I
Yeah.
think from time to time it'll be interesting to get some of the manufacturers on here. We have, if you remember back on show number 33, Ryan and Denise mentioned they use Shoot.edit.
Yeah. They're a
And
super cool company.
I have no idea how this came about. Maybe they saw the show or whatever, but the president of the company contacted me, and he's going to be coming on a show sometime in the next couple of months.
They are really cool. I used them once, and the only reason I haven't continued to use them is because they're really more geared towards the wedding photographer with the way
Right.
they have their rates and packages set up. But it was fantastic. Everything looked spot on to me. And then their customer service was fantastic. Like, even after I got my um, even after I got my order completed, like a week later, I got what felt like a fairly personalized email from the president, making sure that I was satisfied and if there was anything different they could do to cater to me, and that they want to make sure that they're editing towards the preferences of their photographers, and if there's anything I'd like specifically changed for my next order. It was very nice. It was very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And reasonable price. So we got
Yeah, it was very reasonable.
we had them. We're working on ExpoDisc people, Expo Imaging to get somebody out. So we'll from time to time have a product person. So before we head into one other thing, I talked about this last week, and I think Kathleen, you're going to add a little bit to it. I continue to not use back button focus, even with my non-VR lenses.
You continue to use it or
No,
not
to
use
not.
it?
I've stopped using back button focus.
Okay.
I used to use that exclusively.
Oh, so you're not using it?
No, I'm not using back button focus. So,
Oh, okay.
on the back of the camera, there is, I have it right, AF, you may not be able to read it, but AF
Yeah,
dash
we
on.
can see it.
And that is the back button focus. And I have stopped using that because on Nikon, this is not something that affects Canons. On Nikon with the VR lenses, it does not engage the VR, the vibration reduction.
Okay.
Once you hit the shutter button, it does engage it. So what was happening
So
to
wait,
me,
let me back up. On Nikon, it's called VR, vibration reduction, and on Canon, it's called IS, which is image stabilization.
right, same
Okay.
thing. So, but when I would hit the, so in this case, I focus on with the back button, I hit the shutter release. When I hit the shutter release, it actually engages the VR, but it doesn't have time to settle down before it takes the image, and it was causing issues in the image. And so here I am with a nice lens, a 70-200 2.8 lens, taking these photos and thinking everything at 2.8 is just crap. So I'm shooting at f4, f4.5.
Just to get stuff in focus.
I never could get what I thought was a good in focus lens shot.
Okay.
So 2 weeks ago, I said, you know what? After Scott Green had mentioned it, and I tested it and said, I think he's onto something. I shot without the back button focus, with the lens set on 2.8 for the entire match, that entire meet. And then when I came home and started loading the images, I was like, oh my gosh. These
It was
are like
such a huge difference.
It's like a brand new camera, brand new lens. It's, what I was thinking, that I'm just horrible. All these other people were shooting at 2.8. I can't get anything. What are they doing? How can I be this bad? And it's still partially me, but I could, there's a huge difference. My keeper rate went way up. And of course I love the blur that you get at 2.8 on a 70-200 lens. And now I'm loving it.
Well, okay, so I think that's wonderful.
You've gone the other way.
I've gone the opposite direction. I just started using back button focus. Okay, so before using back button focus, I would toggle my focus point. For every session, my autofocus point was on the move, depending upon where my subject was and if I was doing landscape or portrait, whatever. But the problem is that on the Canon, we had a whole show basically about focusing. On the Canon, the only cross-type sensor is the one that's dead center, which is the one that I was using the very least. And so when I heard that on back button focus, it will hold the focus of your subject,
Right.
I switched it and then put it so it's only on my center focus. So no longer am I toggling my focus point. I'm only ever using the center one. And so I'll put it on my subject, back button focus, and then recompose and shoot. And it's coming out great. I feel like my images are, out of 10 images, I feel like, 9 of them are spot on. And then the 10th one is my fault because I moved or whatever.
But now, is that more on portrait versus Mike doing sports photography? Would that be a difference?
I think I have it set. Hold on, let me pull my camera out and see what my.
But
you have the AI servo thing and all that kind of stuff too. Okay, so I am on AI servo, which means that my focus point will consistently track my image until I press my shutter.
Okay.
So even if I have a toddler that moves slightly, they'll still be in focus. Now, I don't know how much that's going to translate to sports where it's fast moving. I mean, extremely fast moving.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've got, and the thing is too, that the times that I've used it, I've only used it on subjects that are staying considerably still. I haven't had a session yet where I've got a 1-year-old that runs from you for the whole session. That's what
Right.
1-year-olds do. They don't sit still. So I might have a different review on it once I shoot a 1-year-old who I'm literally chasing. But for the ones like the picture I just showed a few minutes ago, I was using back button focus on that with 4 people in the image, and I loved it.
Morgan posted that she used it on her son's football game and it worked great.
That's awesome. Morgan, do you have it on AI servo as well, would be my question. If you're on center focus, then it should track the center of the image as long as you hold the back button.
And Morgan says yes.
Morgan Curvin. Hey, Morgan.
And she said, oh, yes. Okay, so yeah, AI servo. Because I used to have it on, I used to not have it on back button focus, and I had it on one shot so it would not track my image, and I would still recompose, and I was still getting things in focus, but I don't know, there's something about the back button focus that just feels different in my hand. It feels like it's really locking it.
I like the back button focus. I've been using it for a while, but I've been struggling with it. And the thing with the VR, it not engage in VR, is a Nikon thing. It's not a Canon thing. You can, of course, if I'm shooting sports and I'm getting enough shutter speed, I don't even need the VR. I can just turn it off, and then you don't have that issue. But if you're shooting with the VR turned on, on a Nikon, then you need to be you don't want to use the back button focus because it does not engage the VR, and it's real easy to test. You can just turn on the VR, focus with your back button focus button, and you can feel that the VR is not engaging. But then whenever you click the regular shutter button and you half press it, you can feel it engage. If you don't feel it engage with the back button focus, then that's a problem for you, because whenever you're clicking that shutter button to take the picture, and if you're using back button focus, you're just clicking that button really fast on the shutter button. It's not engaging that VR, and it's engaged in VR when you go to take the picture, but it's not having time to settle down, and it's going to give the image this. It's not dramatic. There's a slight blur to it that just is not making it sharp. And you may be wondering what is going on. I had enough shutter speed to stop the action. Had enough shutter speed to stop my action. I should not be having this. What is what is going on? And that's what's happening.
That's interesting. Well, there is one thing that I don't like on the Canon as far as back button focus goes. So I don't know if you guys can see the back of my camera. Can you guys, does that come into focus for you at all?
Barely.
Can you see? Okay, there you go. You see how there's 3 buttons?
Right.
Do you see that? The one that is closest to my viewfinder, that's my back button focus button. Okay.
Oh, yeah, F dash on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, my little hands are not large enough to hold my shutter and the back button focus at the same time. So I have programmed my camera to use the middle button instead, which you can do. And for a lot of people that works. And maybe it just takes some time getting used to, because I've not used it a lot. But I find myself very consistently pressing the wrong button and then being like, why isn't it focusing? And then taking the camera away from my face and be like, it's on the wrong button. I almost feel like I want to get something like maybe a piece of felt so the middle button feels different, and like putting it over that middle button so I can, you know, make sure I'm always on the right button without having to pull it back and look at it.
Well, now the on the Nikon, the button is not quite as far over as that one. It may be. I
mean, I can do it. My thumb can reach. It's just not comfortable. It's not comfortable in my hand. I feel like I'm stretching.
Yeah. All right. So that's you know, part of this is, you know, what makes, if you do a lot of shooting and you're getting bored with what you're doing, sometimes a change is good.
It is.
Whether that's a new lens, a new way to focus like I'm doing, new camera body, you know, whatever. Sometimes that a change is good. And
well, and I was really itching for the Canon 5D Mark III, and not to say that, of course, I wouldn't love to have a new camera body, but now with switching my back button focus, I feel like it's new and fresh again, and I'm not itching so much. I still would love to get some different lenses for some fun, different, you know, possibilities, but I'm not itching to have to get a new camera.
Well, I really would love to have the D800, but you know, this, one of the things that was happening is because it had that slight blur to it, it made the noise that was happening even worse.
Right.
So now I'm shooting these things and it's going up to ISO 800, and they're okay. I can shoot, and I know 800. If you have a modern camera, you're probably thinking, oh, 800, what's that? It's no problem at all. But on D2X, which is a little bit older, you know, a little bit older camera, it's not that good. 800 is pretty noisy, but it's actually doing pretty good now that I've done that.
Can I switch this topic really quickly about something that just popped in my head that I switched recently?
Yeah, and then I want to get to Adobe Cloud.
Okay, cool. So I probably should be doing noise reduction in Lightroom, but I've been doing it in Photoshop still. And I had been like doing all the edits on my image, and then the last thing I would do is see if it needs any noise reduction and then run a noise reduction on it. But then it made my images feel cakey. Does that make sense? Like it made all the skin feel cakey, and like, so I would always like run it and then be like, ooh, I don't like that, and then like dial it down to next to nothing and then still have a bunch of noise. Now obviously these are the images that I'm shooting at really high ISO. It's not all of my images.
When are you doing your sharpening? After the noise?
It was before.
You definitely want to do the sharpening after.
Well, and see, that's what I didn't know. And so the other day I just kind of by happenstance pulled an image up, the one of my boys jumping on the bed. Yeah. It's obviously really noisy, and you know, it's got a lot of blur to it, and that's what makes it so cool. But I was getting ready to get it printed for my walls, and so whenever I get something printed for my walls, because I don't spend as much time editing my own photos, before I get it printed, I make sure that it's exactly what I want, right? And I accidentally ran the Noiseware first because I remember it being a grainy image, and it made all the difference in the world. I could not believe it. And so it really makes me want to do all of my noise reduction in Lightroom so that it's done even before it goes to Photoshop.
Yeah.
Because it made such a difference. It did not give me that cakey look at all. It just, heaven forbid, it just took the noise away. I couldn't believe it.
and you know, there is no magic with the noise. It's always a give and take. You lose a little bit of the sharpness, you get rid of the noise. Right. But I've generally heard that it's better to do the noise reduction before the sharpening.
I would totally agree with that. And before, I just never even thought about what should come first. But yes, I would say noise reduction and then sharpen. And
I do it in Lightroom. Now I'm talking to, I reached out recently to the Topaz Labs, people who does Topaz denoise. And I'd love to get them to come on the show and talk about denoise, because I've heard a lot of good things about it. But in Lightroom, and this may not work for your people shots, but for me, if I'm taking shots that have a lot of sky to them, so the sky, a lot of times, that blue channel will get very noisy.
Yes.
Lightroom 4 now, the graduated filter has noise reduction inside the graduated filter, or in the brush itself. You can brush on noise reduction. So I often will, you know, because I don't really care about the sharpness and details in the sky necessarily. Right. I will do heavy noise reduction in the sky, and then, you know, because it's graduated, it'll be less as it comes down into the trees and whatever else.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and the thing is, in the sky, you can actually see the noise more as you get into trees and things like that.
You don't see it.
The noise is lost a little bit.
Because it could be, it ruffles in with the leaves, or, you know, the spots in between the trees that are open with light. You just don't even notice it as much.
So I don't know how, you know, how much useful the graduated filter is for you. If you looked at any of my swim photos I did recently, I actually used graduated photos on some of those.
You did.
Yes. So like, let's say you've got somebody, like in this case, I'm off to this side. So you got all this dead space that's over here, and that's
right.
Using that rule of thirds thing.
Right.
So what I've done is I actually will do the graduated filter a little bit over this way to darken that side a little bit, do an exposure graduated filter to darken a little bit of that, so it's you have a little bit more focus. It's not quite a vignette, because if I did a vignette, it'd be too dark over here.
Right, and you don't want that.
Right. So, and it's not noticeable that much. It shifts your eye even more toward them.
Right.
What my goal was. Well, as we're talking about Lightroom 4, one of the things I'm debating is the new thing from Adobe, and that is, let's see if I can get this pulled up. Not that. This. Yeah. Adobe's Creative Cloud.
Okay.
Now, Tim had the same impression I had when I first heard about this, and I wondered how many other people had the same thing.
Okay.
I thought this is Photoshop in the cloud. This is Lightroom in the cloud. And why on earth would I want to do that? It
would slow everything way down.
Yes, it sounds absolutely horrible. I'm gonna send I got a 16 gig card that I fill up on many of my shoots. I'm going to take a 16 gig worth of stuff and upload it to Adobe. That just sounds stupid.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is.
Okay, what is that?
Maybe you already knew this, Kathleen.
No, it's not, because I have not watched any of the videos, so this is all, when you sent me the link, I kind of quickly went and looked at it and perused it, but I did not spend time. Go ahead.
The Creative Cloud is, let's see if I can pull this up. It's a bunch of their products. It is Photoshop Extended. Now, Extended really just adds on like 3D and that kind of stuff, so it may not.
See, I have that. Why? I hope I didn't spend extra for that.
Oh, yeah, the Extended is a lot.
But I bought the student teacher version.
Yeah, then it's not. I don't think you have a choice. You only can get the Extended.
Okay.
So it adds, and I'm just going to mention a few. I'm not going to go through the whole list. You can look it up yourself. But Photoshop Extended, Illustrator, Lightroom, InDesign, whatever that is. Premiere Pro, which is their video editing software, After Effects. After Effects is like a $1,000 program. Adobe Audition, which is their sound program.
What does the After Effects do?
Yeah, don't quiz me too much on what these things do.
Sorry, I can look it up.
From what I understand, it's like you, and I know somebody's going to probably correct me, email me at podcast@jpeg2RAW if I get this wrong. But I think it has to do with your video production. You would use this to edit the video, make effects inside the video or something like that.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it must be an awesome program because it's like $1,000.
Right. Why else would you spend that much if it wasn't awesome?
Exactly. Dreamweaver, which is like web design stuff.
I used that in college.
Audition, I mentioned that. So a lot of software. So here's where the cloud thing, I guess, is what they're talking about. Is they give you cloud storage of like, I think it's 20 gig, and you can share some of your settings and some of your actions, I think, and some things like that amongst people or amongst your own computers if you have this stored on 2 different computers. So that's what the cloud part of it is. The actual software you download and install on your computer. Okay, but then you have to pay a monthly fee. And let's see if
so if you don't need all of those programs, then really you're paying for the 20 gigs of storage.
Which is not a heck of a lot.
Yeah, you do not want to do this if you don't want the programs.
Right.
This just gives you access to anything that's updated right away also. That's the real benefit of it.
Yeah.
So for just your monthly fee.
Yeah, so let's say...
So you never have to spend another $200 and something on the new upgrade to Photoshop.
Correct.
Instead, you pay monthly for Photoshop. And
I'm doing some math, and I'll show it to you in here just a second. If you already own Photoshop and Lightroom and really are not interested in those other programs, this may not be a good deal for you.
Okay.
Wait,
say that again. If you already have Photoshop and Lightroom, then this might not be a good deal.
And you're not interested in other programs, because some of the other programs are pretty expensive. If you want some of those other programs, then you have to decide which one you want.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing is, can you get it for the $29 a month, or do you have $30? Let's just round these off. $30, or do you have to pay the $50 a month? Because that's going to change. That may change your math too. If you got to pay $50 a month.
This says annual.
No, that's a month. It requires an annual
per
contract.
month. What? Okay, go ahead.
If it was $50 a year, that would be.
Yeah, I was like, that's cheap. Let's do it. Yeah.
So
Right, so 50 is really $600 a month. So is this meant
$600 for the year.
600 for a year?
Okay.
Is that really worth it for most homeowners? Probably not. I use Lightroom and I'll use Photoshop. For me, it's probably better off just to purchase it.
yeah. Now the thing to think about here is.
I mean, if you're a one-stop shop with video and photography and, you know, graphic design, and you want all of these programs, and there's a lot of people that do all of that, then it's probably a pretty decent deal. Because if you had to upgrade each of those, let's say you upgrade Dreamweaver, Photoshop, and Lightroom at $200 a pop every year, there's your $600.
Yeah, and I have a little spreadsheet I can show you.
Oh, you have a spreadsheet.
Of course he does.
How cute, Mike Howard.
Yeah, and it's not that good because I didn't have that much time to do it, so I'm a little ashamed to show it. But the thing I was thinking about is, you remember a few shows back where I said Adobe came out with a new, yeah, Jim's calling me a bean counter out in chat. Adobe came out with a new rule that says if you don't own the current version, you can't get the upgrade price to the new version. And that is something that started with, I think, CS6. So when they come out with, let's just assume they call it CS7, if you're not a CS6 owner, you don't get the CS7 upgrade price. And the upgrade price for Photoshop is $199. The full price is $699. So if you, let's say you own CS5 and you go, that's good enough, I'm just going to wait for CS7. When CS7 comes out, you're going to have to pay $700 to get it. So I think what they're doing is saying that's the rule. Here's one way we can help you out by you paying the $50 or $30, whatever it is that you can get by with there. And the $30 is open to like educational discount, and maybe some other ways to qualify. But if you qualify that way, Kathleen,
I just have to put on my thinking glasses. Oh.
Then
it's out of my normal realm. Go ahead.
Oh, now you got the mustache. There you go. So if you can do that, that may make it worth it. Now it depends on what you're getting. So let me see if I can go back to us and share my Excel spreadsheet. Let's let that clean. Oh, let me get focus onto the Excel spreadsheet. So I got here, and this is not a great spreadsheet again because
seriously, I don't even know why the people have hired you. This is so elementary.
Really, I've seen third graders do better.
Jeez, how much are you making again, and are they hiring?
I'm not giving away my salary online. I can do a fancier one for next show.
That's okay.
But I just picked out the things that I'm interested in. Photoshop, Photoshop, Lightroom, After Effects, Audition, Premiere, and Illustrator. That's $3,600 worth of software.
Right.
All right. The upgrade price is $1,024. Hopefully y'all can see that out in chat. Now if we go over to, let's say that you don't own any of them, okay? And you're going to have to buy them all. That's $3,600 up front. And every 2 years you're upgrading, so $1,024, right?
Okay.
The total cost after 10 years is $77.90 versus $59.98 if you did the $50
if you don't own any of them, it's cheaper for you to go to the Creative Cloud and do it for 10 years than it would for you to purchase them all outright.
Now, actually, I think the upgrade price is going to be more because isn't Adobe more on an 18-month cycle versus a 2-year?
Yeah, I was just saying that you could hold out a little bit. So now, but now let's say that you can do the 100, you own everything, and you're just going to upgrade.
Okay.
So now we do that, and you look at it and you go, well, at $50 a year, if I'm only buying those things that Mike just mentioned, and I already own them, then it may not be better for me to go that way. Because you see, after 10 years, you only spend $5,100 if you just upgrade, and that means you're upgrading every one of them every 2 years.
Right.
Then it's that way. Now, if you can get by with the $29.99, then it's a different story. So that's pretty good. Now, where somebody you got to do the math on yourself. Where it may make sense for somebody is, let's say you're a Photoshop Elements person, and you're going, wow, I can't get the upgrade price to go to CS6. I can't, so I'd have to pay full price. That's $700. Do I want to pay $700 for Photoshop? That's where you're going to have to start thinking. Maybe I can spend, especially if you can get by with the 30. If you can qualify for the $30 plan, then that is one way to go. Now, all that said, there's another big caveat.
Okay.
And that is, I think you have to do this forever. So let's say,
What?
yes. So let's say at some point you commit to get the price of $50 a month or $30 a month. You got to commit to 1 year. At the end of that 1 year, if you decide, you know what, I'm just not going to do it anymore, then those products, the license expire. And you think about it, that whole package I just talked about was over $3,000 worth of stuff. They're not going to give it to you for a $600 price in 1 year.
Right, that's so true.
And this way, you're also getting upgrades as they happen. So what would happen is, so let's say 3 years down the road, you go, I'm tired of this monthly payment. I can't continue to send them $30 a month.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to decide which one of those products I'm going to go out and buy in order to keep them. What we don't know yet, I have not seen, I need to look it up and see if they're going to answer this question, is could you get an upgrade price? So let's say you do Photoshop, you own it for 3 years through this Creative Cloud. At the end of 3 years, you say, you know what, I want to buy it. Do you have to pay the $6.99 or can you get the upgrade price?
I mean, seriously, is it a lease purchase or are you starting from scratch?
That would be what we want to know.
Yeah, because if it's a lease purchase, then great. Especially if they give you credit for what you've been paying for in the cloud.
Mm-hmm. But
it's like a payment plan almost,
For me, I don't, going back to this sheet, I own Photoshop, I own Lightroom. I don't own any of the other products. So if I really wanted those, I probably would not get Illustrator. I would just get those three. After Effects, Audition, and Premiere is the ones I'd want. That's $2,200.
Wait a minute. Are you just in Excel right now?
Yeah.
And you just dragged over it, and at the bottom it automatically tells you the sum.
I am an Excel wizard.
Okay, I thought I was an Excel wizard, and this whole time I thought that you had to do a whole formula in another cell.
So let me.
Don't hire me. Never mind.
Just for photography.
So, my day job, what I do for a living, I'm a controller for a large company.
So all you have to do is drag over them, and it tells you the sum and the average on the bottom.
Or whatever else you want it to say. You can have it say, you can't see this, but
well,
I can
that's actually the newer version
maximum, minimum.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a newer version. The old version only showed you one at a time.
The old version only showed you one at a time, but I can have it show me max, min, count, all the average.
That's super cool. Okay.
If it wouldn't bore people to death, I would do a podcast on Excel.
It would not bore me, and if you want to do just a hangout, we can do that.
Absolutely. I live in Excel, and I do crazy pivot tables and all kind of other stuff.
Stop it right now. That gets me so happy.
Jim wants you to break out the slide rule now.
and here's a funny. So we'll get off of Excel here in just a second, but you got me on it, and I have to say something. One of the ladies who works for me, her mom calls up and says, "I've maxed out Excel. I was doing a spreadsheet, and I've used it all up.
Oh, heavens.
What do I do now?" And
Awesome.
the girl that worked for me, Jenny, who was on show number 1, said, "Good gosh, Mom, how big is this spreadsheet?" She goes, "What must be like 30 lines, and I've run out of lines."
She didn't see it on her screen.
She didn't know she could page down and get like
I love it.
a million more lines. It goes down
I
a million rows.
That's awesome. She needs to join our hangout.
Yeah. All right, so now back to us.
Back to photography.
Enough Excel. Well, I am more than happy to do an Excel hangout with somebody, whoever wants to do that. I love Excel.
We got a couple of people out there that are interested.
That.
I think we're up to like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Max Rose chat room. There you go. Okay, so that is Creative Cloud. It's something I'm considering doing because of all the other things I get. But let's head out to the Facebook group and let's have a chat there and talk about it. And I'll post maybe this link to the Creative Cloud where you can see the pricing and that kind of stuff, where we can continue to talk about it. Because I think it's I think it's an option. I do want to find out what happens once you cancel the.
Right, like how long do you need to have it? Like, let's say you do it for 3 years. Do you get something,
Yeah,
or are
yeah,
you just done?
that's what I
Yeah.
need to know.
Mhm.
And I just got the warning. Am I still here? So watch out for that. All right. So now, how about we do this? I am going to post this in the Facebook group and see.
He's posting a link in the Facebook group, and the first, how many people?
We can have 6 more.
So the first 6 people that click on it to come join us in the Hangout can come on into the live Hangout, and we can continue to talk shop.
Yep. There
And
it
Mike,
is.
you and I should probably watch out for the warning from Google soon, I would think. Otherwise, we'll be knocked out and everybody be in but us.
Yeah, I just mentioned that. I just got it too. And Kathleen, well, Kathleen had to drop out and come back
She
in.
dropped out.
Yes,
She'll be
I'm
fine.
probably
But I
okay.
do have to watch the server. And I think we have a number of viewers who are watching us live from YouTube. If you're watching live from YouTube and want to join us in chat, we're streaming live to our show, jpeg2RAW.com. You can head over there and head to the live thing where you can actually see we're actually streaming. We've done some other things. The spreadsheet we were just talking about, you can see that because I was doing a screen share. But some of the other things you may not have been able to see. Joe Miller, I'm on YouTube.
Joe Miner.
Joe Miner, he can't be on YouTube if he's watching us through here. And
You didn't get dressed today, so he's out, Jackie. I don't blame you, Jackie.
Good.
and here's Andy. Andy, welcome.
I,
Hey, Andy, how are you?
Good evening, Andy.
I'm hearing echoes because I still have the other thing playing.
Yes. So one thing, when you come into the show, be sure. And this Sarah, Sarah's joined before. As you come into the show, be sure to mute the live page, or we'll get a feedback.
Yeah, go to your live jpeg2RAW Knob Studios page and make sure you hit mute so we don't get feedback. So we've got 2 on one screen. That means we could add 7 people, not just 6.
There you go.
Very clever.
Yeah, obviously, if you get more than one person in a webcam, we can add. The limits. It's unlimited.
It's unlimited. Yes.
So Andy, I know we've talked before. You've been and we've done some hangouts. You've come on there. Sarah, you haven't done one of these with us before, have you?
No, this is the first time.
Ah, awesome. Have you done a hangout at all before?
No, I haven't done one.
Okay.
I'm on Google Plus, but I haven't done a Hangout.
Mike,
Well,
where's the link? Joe Miner's looking for it.
Joe Miner, are you
It's in Facebook.
Are you a member of our Facebook group? I will put it out into chat.
All right, Sarah, so
I'm gonna put it out in chat so y'all.
what kind of photography do you do?
Trevor, my husband, and I are just starting out. We just upgraded from a very entry-level Canon camera. We switched over and got a D7000 Nikon, and we're just
Yay!
learning. And we're hoping to make it into something over the course of the next couple of years.
Awesome.
Good for you. Good for you.
What kind of photography do you guys enjoy doing right now? Is it mainly portraits or weddings or what is it?
Yeah, we complement each other really well because I like more people and portraits, and he likes photography or landscape and architecture and.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, congratulations on that. That's awesome. And then Andy, what about you? What's your background with photography?
I like to fool around with my camera.
Okay, I do too.
No, it's purely a hobby for me. I've never gotten paid to take a picture, so
Awesome.
I have a
Very
whole lot
cool.
of attention to doing so.
That's very cool.
And I've seen both Trevor and Sarah posting in our Facebook group quite often.
What's your
Yeah.
last name?
Our last name is Roeder.
Roeder. Okay. Yep, I've seen you guys. That's right. Now I know. Very cool.
And my computer is sending sounds the wrong thing. Where's the settings?
Okay, so what y'all want? Y'all have any topics you wanted to talk about? This is kind of a new segment. We haven't done this before on the regular show. We do. So Andy's joined in on one of the hangouts we've done before, and I unfortunately we've not got a consistent time for that. But what I'd like to do is have those on a regular weekly basis where we just hang out and just chat about whatever we want to talk about. Last time we had, who'd we have there? Jessica, I think it was Jessica, Andy?
Yeah.
And we went through Lightroom and just asked each other questions and showed each other how we did things in Lightroom. It's so much nicer when you're here live and you can do these things and show each other live like that in a hangout. But we wanted to kind of bring that hangout feel to tonight's show toward the end of the show and just open it up to whatever y'all wanted to talk about.
So somebody jump on in there. Anybody got anything that they have kind of had on their mind, or any questions, or anything that you've learned that made life easier for you that you'd like to share? Anything.
And Joe Miner, are you coming in? I'm sorry, go ahead.
What is the best way to prove in low light situations? Like if you don't have I don't have a speed light, so I'm just using the camera light.
That you'd like to share? Anything.
And Joe Miner, are you coming in? I'm sorry, go ahead.
We got some feedback. So, hi, how are you?
Whoever just jumped
Preston,
in.
you just gotta mute your microphone.
All right, go ahead, Trevor.
I just wanted, what are some good techniques for improving shooting in low light?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, so with your D700, does it have a pop-up flash on it, or are you putting an external speed light on there, or you don't have that at all?
I don't have, it's actually the D7000, and I don't have a speed light yet.
Okay, but it does have a pop-up flash?
Correct.
Okay. If I were you, I would tape that pop-up flash down permanently and learn how to shoot without it. You're obviously, if you're ever shooting weddings or something, it's going to be close to impossible to do that when you're at a reception. But with you guys doing portraiture, I'm not a fan of pop-up flash at all. I think it's not very flattering. If you can get, I shoot all natural, so I think that you're probably fine with the equipment that you have. If you want to get better light, you can invest in a couple reflectors, and especially with there being two of you, one of you holding the reflector onto your subject and the other person shooting, that would be beautiful for outdoor photography. But you said low light situations. So are you going to areas that are low light, or are you talking about shooting in people's homes, or?
Well, I just came from a practice recital, and I had to boost my ISO up to 3200.
Yeah. So this is for a wedding.
Well,
No, it was just a practice recital. I was just shooting for practice.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so
Well, there's a couple things. You can invest in a speed light, and you can use it one of two ways. You can do off-camera flash, where you get a separate tripod and put it somewhere else in the room, so you can kind of put the flash right where you want it, which gives beautiful effects. We've had Scott Green on the show, and he does a beautiful job doing that. And then depending upon the room you're in and the height of the ceilings, if you don't have the option of doing off-camera flash, you can put it on your camera, but then bounce it up off of a white surface, like on your ceiling, as long as it's a white ceiling, and then that would give you an overall more of an ambient light in the room. Mm-hmm. But I think that the off-camera flash would probably be your best case scenario in a situation like a low-lit recital area. Does anybody else have anything to kind of chime in there?
No, I think you hit it good there.
Does that make sense to you, Trevor?
It does. But what if it's the place I shot at tonight was a large auditorium?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you couldn't bounce off the ceiling there.
You couldn't bounce off the ceiling in a large auditorium. Off-camera flash would be great if you feel like you're going to be doing more of that kind of stuff. It'd be a good thing to invest in.
You're saying off-camera flash like an SB800 or SB900 on the Nikon side?
Yeah, and then just getting it off of your camera. It's not very flattering when it's on your camera pointing straight at your subject. It just puts unflattering shadows and stuff around them.
At the last swim meet, and Trevor, you said you got the 7000, right?
Yes.
So at the last swim meet I was at, the guy was shooting with the 700, and he was using a pop-up flash as a controller for he had a 900 in his hand. He had actually bungee corded to his hand.
Oh, so it was like the slave. It was slaving it. Yeah.
Yes. It was not connected in any way to the camera. He's using the flash on the camera as the controller, and he is using that. He's pointing that out, wherever he wants to stick it, and he would shoot, and that the flash on the body would go off, and then it would fire the SB900.
Well, and especially if you're like in an auditorium and your pop-up flash goes off, it's, you know, it's only going to fall as far as it can fall. So it's not going to be lighting your subjects that's on the stage. It's going to be lighting the first 5 chairs that are sitting in front of you. So that's not really a huge, I don't know, it depends on the look you're going for, but it might not be a huge downfall. You know what I mean? If you wanted to use it to kind of trigger your off-camera flash somewhere else.
Okay.
Especially like with the swim meet, because it's probably so, is it inside, Mike, or your swimming?
No,
inside?
this was outside, but
so that's even perfect, because then it's just like fill flash, which who cares?
Exactly. So he was doing it even in the you know, the afternoon where they had really good light. He was doing it even there to kind of fill it in, because he was shooting with I think he was probably shooting something like f5.6 or maybe even higher, even more stop down, because of his lens, whatever lens he had. You need to do that. I was shooting at 2.8 with my 70-200, so I had, you know, plenty of light. But he wanted to add some, and you know, a flash even in bright sunlight can really, you know, make the eyes pop and give some good light. And his images look pretty good by doing that.
When I second shot that wedding with Scott Green, he had an off-camera flash set up during the reception that was obviously being triggered by his what are they called? Pocket wizards.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was shooting in the reception, I was just cranking up my ISO and doing the best that I could. And I kept apologizing to him all night because he was getting these amazing images that with the action completely being frozen, and it was really cool. And I was just like, I feel like I'm just a waste of space here because I don't have an off-camera flash set up with my camera. And he was gracious. He said he appreciated both viewpoints and having that for his editing later. But I can't imagine ever doing another reception without having an off-camera flash available. I really struggled. And not just struggled with how my images were coming out and how grainy they were coming out, but I struggled finding focus because it was so dark in that room that my camera just kept hunting for focus the whole time.
Yeah, that's where you need an icon. You need an icon. They can focus pretty well. So we got two new people. We got 2 new people who joined the group here. Preston, how are you?
Great. Is it working?
It's working.
Sounds perfect.
And how did you find us, Preston?
Through
YouTube?
A weird stumble through YouTube Live. Just checking some stuff out.
Well, welcome to the show. And John, I know John from some other shows. John, welcome.
Glad to be here. I saw you on Google Plus, and I clicked on it, and I stumbled into your Excel discussion. So that got me interested. So
I love it.
I listened more, and so you kind of sucked me in with Excel.
Just so, awesome. So that Preston or anybody else who's new to listen to the show, we don't generally discuss Excel in the jpeg2RAW podcast.
I'm leaving. Excel's what got me here.
Preston, if you want, we could have a separate hangout just to talk about Excel.
No, I'm good.
Hey, John, it looks like you got the same microphone as Mike does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mine doesn't have all the bells and whistles that his does.
Mine doesn't either. This is what he got me, okay?
Hey, at least he bought it for you.
That's right, it's true.
Okay, so anybody else have another topic to discuss? Preston or John?
I have a question, if I could ask. I mean, my uses of a camera are pretty basic. I mean, I have a Sony CyberShot, just a simple pocket camera that I use, and I've been using an iPod, and it has generally met most of my needs. That's the type of camera that I use. I just want something that I don't have to think about. I point and I shoot. Mm-hmm. But now that I've gotten I became a grandfather a few months ago, and I want to take more pictures, and to be able to catch my grandson when he's smiling, I need something that has a little more ability to actually take the picture when I press the button. And I've been looking at Nikons and other types of cameras, but it's really it's easy to kind of get in over your head to the point where I get beyond the point of where I just want to point and shoot and not have to really worry about it too much. There's other things that I'll spend time working on, but I don't want when I have a camera. It would be nice just to basically have a camera that was kind of idiot-proof that I could take great pictures with.
John, that's a good question. Maybe we can discuss it in the group here. I think a lot of people are like you that have a basic point and shoot and are wanting to step up to the next level. And what is that next level? Is it going to a more sophisticated point and shoot, or is it going to, maybe the consumer entry level DSLR with kit lens? And maybe if you're going to do that, I always recommend get the 50mm 1.8, whether it's the Canon or the Nikon. It's a cheap lens, but it's a good quality. So anybody have any suggestions for John at what his next step should be? Should he go all the way to, and John, maybe you should give us a little more information on how much money you're willing to spend.
Okay, we could talk about the $400 to $600 price range.
All right, so let's use
I'd say like a T2, or like the Canon would be a T2 or a T2i.
That's probably what I would say too, because see, John, what's going to happen is your grandson's going to keep growing, and he's going to get faster and faster, and you're not going to be just trying to capture his smiles, you're just going to be trying to capture him. And so if you were to step it up to the next point and shoot, that's only going to last you for a few smiles, and then that's not going to be fast enough either, because with point and shoots they deal off of something called lag time, and that's the time between when you push your finger on the shutter and the camera actually takes the picture. I mean, we've all been there. We've all been in a restaurant, we've got our friends together, and we're saying, wait for it, there it went. That's your lag time. And with any point and shoot, they are getting better, but you're going to have some sort of a lag time. And then when you get into the DSLRs, when you press your shutter, the camera takes instantaneously. So there's no lag time. So I am right there with you, Andy. I would suggest you going with one of the entry-level Canons. A lot of them come with a video portion on them too. I believe this one does. And it's within your price range. It's obviously at the top of your price range. But like I said, I think with another point and shoot, you'd only be happy for as long as that baby is laying on his back. And as soon as he starts crawling, he is going to get fast, and your camera needs to be faster.
Yeah, and I don't know if y'all are still watching the stream, and not just the hangout, but the actual stream. I've got the Canon Rebel T3i pulled up, John, and it looks like it's going for $610. There's there's a Nikon comparable Nikon comparable camera that you can look at if you want to go that way. Canon and Nikon, both of them make good products. I was trying to see what this came with, because generally
that was the Canon TTL.
The T3i is Canon's latest
T3i
Rebel,
okay.
So that's their top line consumer camera.
Is there something lower than that?
They still make the T2i, and I think you can find the T2 as well.
And something I would suggest to you, John.
The previous generation, and the T2 is definitely their bottom one. It's the same thing as like an old XT.
Okay.
Every camera that I've ever purchased, and I do this professionally, but every camera I've ever purchased has been used. I buy them secondhand to save money. And as long as you find someone who has really great high ratings, I've never had a problem. I mean, I can't promise you that they're always going to be perfect, but if you find someone who has a stellar 100% rating and 100% rating feedback, then you could get your body and your lens separate, and that would probably save you some money.
And I'm looking here, John, the Nikon 3100, which is somewhat comparable to that T3i, maybe not the T3, maybe the T2, because I think they've come up with the Nikon 3200.
The T2i and the T3i are the same camera. The T3i has got a better LCD. Is really they're the same resolution. The
Nikon one here is $549. It comes with the 1855, and that's it. 18 to 55. It's a 3.5 to the 5.6 lens, VR. Now you're saying that you want it pretty much automatic. You know, we always a lot of times recommend people shoot in manual mode and not shoot in auto. But as you're starting out, if you don't know any of this stuff, if you don't know any of the exposure triangle, you don't know any of those kind of things, you know, start off maybe in auto, and as you feel more comfortable, this camera will give you the chance, whether it's Canon, Nikon, Sony, you know, they all make good cameras. This will give you the chance to grow with the camera.
It has the auto option, which does everything for you. And then when you start looking at your images and your grandson slows down a little bit because he's older, and you want to see something different out of your images, you have the opportunity here to move it into a manual mode and learn more about photography itself without being limited like you would on a point and shoot.
And that's the Nikon 3100?
What I would probably do is go to Nikon's website and go to Canon's website and just check out all of their entry-level cameras and figure out what you need out of your camera and then go from there.
I would also go to a site called dpreview.com, and they have reviews of all these cameras. Does anybody ever go to that site?
I've heard of it before. I think I've been there a few times.
Yeah, DP Review, I've been there probably before I bought every recent camera.
They have some great reviews of cameras. So they have, you can compare the Nikon to the Canon and to Sony, whatever else you want. Preston, what do you shoot with?
30D.
30D? Okay.
That was my camera before my 5D Mark II, and I love that camera.
And nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
Nope.
It's a great camera. It is a great camera. What do you like to shoot?
I'm more of a recreationalist, and my wife is a wedding flower person.
Okay.
But I'm an art teacher, so I kind of I've had a lot of friends and students get into photography, and I'm more concerned for them on the foundational side of things, which is why I just thought it'd be fun to listen to what y'all are into.
I just read an amazing article today out of the Rangefinder magazine, which, by the way, it's a photography magazine that if you go to rangefinder.com, you can subscribe to it for free. And as you can see, Preston, this was a fine art issue, which was amazing. And I just read an amazing article. As you can see, I liked it very much because I highlighted it like crazy, okay? But it's from this amazing photographer. Her name is Leah McDonald or MacDonald, and she does photography, but then she uses beeswax and she pours it over her images and then etches it out and then puts color in it. And oh my word, it like grabbed my heart. It is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And right before coming onto the show, I was on her website looking to see if she does, if she teaches her artwork. Like if I could fly to her somewhere so she can teach me how to do this.
That's cool.
Because
yeah,
it's just, I mean, it took my breath away. I'm very artistic at heart, and I think that's why I enjoy photography so much. But there's a lot of times where I just want to take my pictures and do something more with them other than just frame them and put them on the wall. And so I'm always trying to find ways to do that. But she has gorgeous work. So anyways.
I think that art side and really helps you become a photographer. Something I don't have. It's something that the creative side, and you know, Kathleen, I know you have that. Preston, that sounds like that's your background too. That gives you guys such a great advantage because while I may know some of the technical stuff, I struggle at the creative side.
But do you struggle with the creative side, or is the creative side where the ability to understand composition is lost with people?
Yeah, see, I think that's where I struggle is with the ability to understand the composition. Composition. I think now I can't even say it. You know, maybe it's because my brain is to the side where I can understand Excel, and that's what's screwing me up. But yeah, that's what it is. I think.
Well, I must be really awesome because I don't understand Excel at all.
That's why you probably excel on the creative
composition side. Yeah.
I'm more soft than you, Mike. I'm a programmer.
Oh yeah, so I go over to here to excel, and you're way past that.
Well, it's funny because when I was learning photography, there was a friend of mine who, as far as I knew, was the smartest technical photography person I knew. And I really knew nothing about the technical side, okay, when I was starting out. And one day he asked if he could shoot me and let me be his subject. And I was so excited. I was thinking, oh my word, this guy knows everything about cameras. This is going to be the most amazing photo shoot I will ever be in. These will probably be the most amazing pictures ever taken of me. I was really excited about it. They were awful. The guy was so technical that he could not see the creative side of it at all. I'm a small framed person. I am 5 foot and I weigh like 105 pounds. I'm tiny. And he made me look huge in the pictures from the angles that he was shooting me at. And I was just like,
you're welcome.
Blown away. Blown away that he could not. It was not a combination of the two. He was so technically strong, but he just had none of the creative side. So it's a really great combination when you can find people that can do both.
But yet people still pay him thousands of dollars to do their weddings.
Yeah, probably, exactly, yeah.
And maybe this is what I think. Maybe you guys can give me your opinion. I think the creative side is the harder one to learn. I think you can. I think in some extent you can only get so good. You either have that, some of that is born in you, and you can improve it. But I think that becoming creative is the harder thing to do than becoming more technical.
Yeah,
Right.
I
You can
can
always
see
learn
that.
the technical part. The creative part, I've always challenged my. It's been a challenge for me, and I try looking up pictures on the internet or books and saying, I like this. Can I recreate it? Versus thinking of something in my head saying, this is what I want to go do. For me, that's difficult.
Exactly.
Well, I think you're right. I would agree with you that probably creative side is one of those things that you can teach yourself only so much, but you either have it or you don't. I probably agree with that too. But Mike, I think you sell yourself short. I see your images as being very creative. So I think you've got a pretty good balance going on there.
Thank you. I try, but I'm still not nearly as creative. I look, every time we have guests on here, I realize how far I got to go. But that's part of the show is improving. Hopefully we all see that we have room to grow and can continue getting better.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I've no desire to do portrait photography, because it's easy to take lots of pictures of moving objects and just never, just don't post the ones you don't like.
So along that side, Kathleen, I'm shooting the swim meets for my kids.
Yes.
It's not a paid gig. It's just I'm a dad with a camera and I'm shooting the swim meets. But the local paper wanted to have some of them for their webpage.
Uh-huh.
And so every week I'm putting them on their webpage and showing them there. So I do the first week, and he says, "Hey, can you do more posed shots? Because I'm doing more candid. I'm getting shots where they don't know necessarily that I'm taking their picture. I do some where I say, "Hey, can you pose with a camera?" But most of them I'm getting when they don't know it, because I want to get the reaction of them not posing for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked
me
me that.
Goggles while I kiss your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all saw that earlier.
Yeah.
But the old me, even though not being paid, the old me would have said, "Okay, I don't really want to shoot that way, but because he wants it that way, and my images are now going to be in the paper, I'll shoot your way." Mm-hmm. And for an instant I thought that way, and then I said, "You know what? I'll get a few your way, but that's not the way I'm shooting." And ultimately, if you don't want them, no hard feelings. That's fine. If they don't work for your site, I don't mind. I'm sorry we couldn't do something together, but I'm going to shoot my way.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, he was very nice about it. He said, "Nope, go ahead and shoot your way. That's fine."
Mm-hmm. I think that's great. I think that shows growth in you. It's funny because there's a photographer that I highly admire. Her name is Meg Bitton, and she's very unapologetic for her work. And she just makes no bones about it. This is what I do. You either love it, and that's great, or you don't. And then I wish you the best in finding a photographer that you do love. And I was so trying to embrace that with my work. And just recently, I had a client where I posted all of her images. She said she wanted all of them, which is a really big sale for me. And so then I did all the editing work on them and posted them for her. And she says, "I like them, but they are not what I was expecting from your website." And of course, the whole Meg Bitton in me, ran away, scared into a little hole. I thought I had gotten ready to be like, well, this is my artwork and I'm sticking to it. But at the end of the day, I just wanted her to love her images. And so, it was actually a really good growth point for me, because I called her and I asked her exactly what it was that she saw different from my images on my website from what she saw in her gallery. And the funny thing is I had done a hazier edit to the images on her gallery than I normally do. And that's exactly what she saw, that she didn't dislike it. She just says, "It just doesn't look like you." And she says, "And I hired you for you."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was it was a confidence booster for me, because I had seen all these other photographers that I love that have the hazier images. And so here I was trying to be somebody else. And it took my client to say, no, I hired you for you. And so I took all of her images down, re-edited them the way that I normally do, put them back up, and she said, "Absolutely, $2,000 sale on baby pictures."
Yeah.
It was great.
You ultimately got to be who you are.
Right. But it takes a while to figure out who that is.
It does take a while to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anyways, it was pretty funny. I thought I had my confidence and wits about me to be like, nope, that's my work. And then as soon as she says, I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I want to do more of these hangouts where we just not as necessarily as part of the regular show, but as a special hangout where we hang out and we just go through Lightroom, go through whatever questions somebody wants to have. And tonight we got a good turnout. We picked up Preston, a new guy. Thank you for coming, Preston. And you said your wife is a wedding photographer.
She's a wedding florist, flower maker person.
Okay.
Awesome.
Springvondesign.com. There's my plug.
There you go. There you go.
Very cool. Does anybody have one last question before is that what you're going to do? You're going to wrap it up, Mike?
We're now at the hour and a half mark. And so anybody who's new, listen to this. Usually every Tuesday night, we generally have a guest. Tonight we did not have a guest, so we thought we'd open it up and bring in some of the people from the Facebook group and anybody from YouTube. So before we head out, is any last topics we want to discuss? Any last questions?
I do.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I just have a question because, as we said, we're new to photography and learning. So we've been looking at classes, and I'm just curious what this group thinks about more like an accredited program through like a community college or workshops online, or if we're talking about wanting to do this kind of more transition into full-time and want to do this long-term. How important is that, and is there a certain direction that you would suggest going?
And I think that was a question in the Facebook group too. Any kind of, maybe it was you guys who posted it. I don't remember.
I posted that.
Oh,
yeah. So what do you guys think? I know, Kathleen, you're a big proponent of just searching on YouTube, but maybe you want a more structured.
I think going to somebody else is a fantastic idea. I think that I probably would have spent. I would have learned quicker if I had someone just showing me how to do it. I just didn't do it for cost. But so this is what I would do. This would be my tip. If you're going to go anywhere, even to the colleges or universities, get online, figure out who their professors are, and then Google their name with photography after it and look at their work.
Oh, that's a great
If you
idea.
love their work, go learn from them. If you don't, do not waste your time, because they're going to teach you how to shoot the way they shoot. And one of the main reasons why I did not go take classes here in town is because at the time there was only one place that I knew to take it from. Now I know of a bunch other that are amazing places that I just didn't even dawn on me at the time.
Well, share some of those. Share some of those names.
Well, there's a Creative Circus, which is really cool, I've heard. But the one place that I did not like the instructors, I will not share the name because I don't want to bash.
Yeah. And not the bad stuff. I just wanted you to share the good stuff.
Right. But anyways, I was like, who are these instructors? And so I just Googled their names, and my work was already better than the instructor's work. And so I was just like, I'm not going to go learn from them. And so instead, I got online and I found photographers that were offering mentorships or whatever. And there's actually a group of girls out in California that do the kind of work that I love. And I hope someday I'm saving up money to go to fly out to California to learn from them, because I think that whoever you learn from, you're going to adapt their style. You're going to shoot like them. So find someone that you love and then say, that's who I want to learn from.
Now, would that
Don't
be
just
like
say because they're from a university that you'll learn from them, because they might not even be great.
And that would be a one-on-one type thing, or a classroom setting, or an online thing?
Well, the one that I'm going to do in California is going to be a group. I think they take 6 photographers at a time, and they do like a weekend workshop.
So, Trevor and Sarah, were you guys wanting to do an online thing or in-person thing, a group type workshop, or what were y'all thinking?
All the above.
Okay. There's 2 places I hear a lot about online, more training videos is, and they're both, you do have to pay for them, is Kelby training and what's the other one, Linda?
I've been doing a lot of lynda.com.
Yeah.
Ben Long has been the instructor on some of the classes that I've been watching, like understanding exposure, and obviously he has one on the Nikon D7000, going through all the menus and how to work all that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
I mean, I guess technically anybody could teach you that stuff, but the way I see it is if you're going to go learn an art form from somebody, then go learn from an artist. Go learn from somebody that you like their work.
Yeah, and my thought would be that maybe you start off with the online stuff like Linda or Kelby training or something like that,
Yes.
and then at some point you want to get where you're either in a group workshop type thing
Right.
or a local community college.
Or like a classroom, because then
And
you're going to be learning from the people in your classroom, not just the instructor at
And
that point.
There's so I think you had a great point, Kathleen, is find a photographer you like, and maybe you have to find more than one, and see if they offer workshops, because a lot of photographers have figured out that they need to supplement their main income, and they do either Photoshop Actions, Lightroom presets, or workshops. And some of these workshops can just be can really be nice. So if you find a photographer you like that offers a workshop, that's another approach.
That's actually kind of been a long-term goal of mine, is that once my kids are grown and out of the house, that someday I won't just be a photographer anymore. In fact, I'll drop the photography side and I will just travel around the world and teach workshops.
And
I'm like, that sounds glamorous and fun. Let's do that.
And did you guys say you're doing weddings? Is that what your focus was?
No.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like just portraiture, right?
Weddings do not interest me one lick.
Me either. Me either. No interest at all. I'm sorry. Then what was it y'all did?
Architectural, portrait. Shooting, like go to the park, shooting kids in the park.
Okay.
Or families, or things of that nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Natural type shots. Yeah.
Andy, did you have another question as well?
Did that kind of help you guys?
Yeah,
Yes.
it did.
Yeah,
Thank
especially
you.
the looking at photographers or researching the instructor online and see what kind of photographer he is.
I was shocked. This one school that I looked at, I was shocked as who they had as instructors. Their work was terrible. I was just shocked. It was terrible. Sorry.
How about this? If you guys do find somebody you like, and this goes for anybody listening, if you find somebody you like and you go and do a workshop with them, it's a good result. I don't necessarily want you coming back and telling us too much of the bad stuff, because I don't want to be negative on here. But if you find somebody that you like and it really helped you, post it in the Facebook group, and we'll try and mention it on here too, because it's something I imagine a lot of people struggle with. They get to a certain point and they want to, do more and learn more, and that's finding the right person is a struggle.
But I'm telling you, YouTube's awesome.
Yeah, that does help.
Yeah, that's what I first learned on the triangle through watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I think Andy or John, did y'all have anything before we end it?
I guess I had one question that's more it's not really the photography side of it, but so far I've mostly shot like either at the roller derby around here, or I go out to some of the bars and shoot the bands that play there. A friend of mine I met through that asked me if her kids are in softball, and she wants to do a scrapbook, and asked me if I'd come take pictures at some of the games. And I guess I'm always kind of avoided taking pictures of dealing with kids, because it's the whole, I don't want to be the creepy guy with the camera.
Yep. It's easier for me because my son is one of my two sons is playing the sport that I'm at shooting. But so how do you not be the creepy guy?
I think if someone's hired you, then you're not the creepy guy. You're the hired photographer to do a job.
But one thing I would do in that case,
yeah,
you're being hired by one parent to shoot their kid, right?
It's the coach, actually.
The coach. Oh, okay. Then I would try and make sure that you go and talk to the coach, and that maybe some of the parents see you talking to the coach. And maybe you do it at multiple times, so that they see this is not some dude just hanging out, getting pictures of the kids. I also try and maybe some of the best facial expressions are when they've got hit by the ball and they're crying or whatever. But I never take any of those shots.
Yeah.
Any of the shots where the kid is hurt or on the ground, crying, or I try to only have the positive shots. And then if it looks like a shot that you shouldn't be taking, I don't even point the camera in that direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if it's boys, it's a little bit easier. If it's girls, if it's questionable, you never want to.
I don't want to get in trouble for stuff, and so I avoid that kind of stuff as much as I can. And that's why I like taking pictures of the bands at the bar, because everyone's over 21. They can't really complain about much.
Right.
I have a rule. If the dad of any of the girls on the team ever came up and wanted to see the back of my camera, I will have nothing on that camera that I would be ashamed to show the dad.
That's a good rule. Yeah. That's a good rule.
Yeah. Okay. John, anything before we head out?
Just want to let you know I appreciate your pointers, and I thought it was really great listening to an expert on baby photography or child photography, and also an expert on Excel. So it's a twofer. And I also have on my screen here the Nikon D3100. So I've been kind of reading him
Awesome.
in between the conversations. So
Very
you
cool.
guys have got me hopefully pointed in the right direction here.
Awesome. Well, very cool. You're going to love it. Whatever DSLR you get, you're going to love it. It's going to be a whole new world for you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. And thank you, everybody, for coming out to the live show, whoever's still out there. I think Jackie's still out there, and maybe Morgan. Jackie, Faye, Morgan, Jean, and Samantha, and Sarah. Sarah's in here with us now. Sarah, John, Trevor, Andy, all thank you for coming into the live show. We'll do more of the live hangouts sometime in the future. But for tonight, that's it. Hopefully
It was
next
so
week.
fun meeting everybody live, guys.
Yes, it was.
It was fun.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun.
Good night, everyone.
Next week, hold on one second. Next week, and hopefully the guest, I'm having a little trouble re-finding him. I think he's out in the field a lot. And sometimes he's hard to find. But if I can get him to come on, like we had scheduled, next week we have the black and white photographer who does those amazing storm photos. If you remember back,
So cool. Yeah, Mike Oblinsky.
Michael Blinsky recommended him. He has some incredible shots, and they're always getting picked up by different news agencies. So he's going to be a great guest. If it falls through, we'll book him for some other time.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll have him
If
next
it's
week.
bad weather, he probably won't be here.
I know, and I think there's like the height. They're having a lot of bad weather out there right now.
Right.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming, and good night.
Good night, guys. See you
Everybody,
later.
everybody in the live chat, hold on one second.
Again.
Everybody in the live chat, hold on for 1 second.
Oh.
Who did we just lose?
John.